Boyz Crazy is in my opinion the worst episode of Gravity Falls Season 1. But before I go any further, let me be clear that that doesn't mean I think it's a bad episode, because it's far, far from it. It just means that when I rank the episodes from best to worst, this is the one that comes last. It is the worst only by default. But why is that? Well, to begin with, the main plot with Mabel and the Sev'ral Times group starts out as quite an amusing social commentary on the modern music industry, as well as kind of a dark twist on the idea of manufactured groups. But then about halfway through, it becomes a story about letting go of something you love, as well as a kind of weird take on the idea of releasing animals back into the wild. It also bothers me that Mabel lies to the group just so she can hold on to them. It just seems like an oddly dark thing for her to do. I liked the subplot involving Dipper, Stan and Wendy. The only problem for me was, why is it only a subplot? This is the resolution to the arc involving Wendy going out with Robbie. Surely that's important enough for it to be the main focus of an episode. But before I get into the real problems with this episode, let's talk about what I liked. I loved the design of Sev'ral Times to look like the most overly processed boy band ever. All dressing the same way, the over-the-top dance moves, the auto-tuning of their voices, which probably means they can't actually sing, the fact that they are all blonde, all the bling they wear, and they even say we're non-threatening at the end of their songs. This episode also has the normal amount of great lines like,
"This is Granda time!"
And I'm not gonna let a keep out sign keep us out!
And,
"Oh no! They're aggressively dancing at us!"
as well as some funny smaller moments like Zeus high-fiving himself when the guy he's talking to leaves him hanging. The first time I saw this episode, I was liking where it was going, but about a third of the way through, it takes a sudden and unexpected turn. In a plot better suited to a horror series like Goosebumps, it seems Sev'ral Times are clones that live in a giant hamster cage. While their manager's attitude seems fairly typical of a music industry businessman, everything else about this seems like a political message against animal cruelty and genetic enhancements. Later on, the girls have to help prepare the group for being released into the wild, which is what happens with real animals that are bred in captivity. So it's not like this is a bad message or anything, but here's the real problem. What does that have to do with boy bands, or Mabel and her friends being fans of them? I seriously don't get what the thought process was when they were writing this. Hey guys, I got this great idea. Mabel is a fan of the most generic boy band ever. Oh yeah, and then we can have this message about animal cruelty and why you should release them back into the wild. What? No, that wasn't what I said at all. In fact, now that I think about it, wouldn't it have made more sense to tie the two plots in this episode together, since they both involve music? Why not have Dipper ask Sev'ral Times to analyse the CD and have them be the ones to figure out it has a hidden message? And while it only lasts about 3 minutes of the episode's runtime, the dark turn the episode takes with Mabel lying to Sev'ral Times and having her friends thrown out really rubbed me the wrong way. It just doesn't seem like the kind of thing Mabel would ever do. The thing I've always loved about Mabel is how completely innocent she is, and how the only time she'd do something wrong is if she didn't fully understand the situation and therefore didn't know she was doing something bad. This is the only time in the entire series when I would say Mabel was written out of character. But thankfully, it's only a small part of one episode, so I guess it could have been worse. The scene where they set the boys free also has an air of letting an animal back into the wild about it. Once again, why exactly? How does a generic boy band connect with the idea of releasing animals into the wild? As for the subplot with Wendy, aside from the fact it's only a subplot, I liked almost all of it. I like that while Dipper clearly doesn't like the fact Wendy and Robbie are going out, he doesn't try to interfere with their relationship until he suspects something is wrong. It's human nature to want what someone else has, but at the same time, Dipper knows it's selfish to want Wendy to break up with Robbie just because he doesn't get along with him, or because he wants to be with Wendy. But once he knows Robbie's been lying to her, he makes the effort to find out what's been going on. I also like the way Wendy takes part of her anger at Robbie out on Dipper, emphasising the fact that while Dipper may have done the right thing, he did it for selfish reasons. You do have to wonder if Dipper would have made such an effort to call out Robbie on what he was doing to Wendy if he didn't have a crush on her. The only thing that bugs me about this is that nothing really came of this sudden fallout between Dipper and Wendy. She just shouts at him and that's it. This isn't really a problem, it just might have been kind of interesting to see a bit of a conflict between these two. But instead they just forget about it like it never happened. This show is normally so good with its continuity, and this just seemed like a bit of an oversight. Overall, this episode has more than enough to keep you entertained, and the subplot has a great twist on the old hero saves the girl from a jerky boyfriend plot. It's just the whole animal cruelty mixed with a boy band thing that I don't get. Oh, and Mr. Hirsch? Please, don't ever let them write Mabel like this again.